Collins.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to add my thanks to my honourable friend, the member for York Central, for leading on this topic. I have seen palliative care fail. My mum, Alison, had ovarian cancer. She died lonely and in dreadful indignity in a hospital ward intended for recovering liver and kidney patients. She felt a burden to a nursing team who are used to people getting better. She was waiting for a hospice bed, but as it turns out, the waiting time was longer than she had. In my constituency of Worcester, we have hospices with superb facilities. Both Acorns Children's Hospice and St Richard's Hospice are loved institutions in our city. They're struggling, and it's vital that we support them. And clearly we need more hospice capacity. But our deficiencies in palliative care are vast, and my lurking uneasy suspicion is that many of them aren't hospice-shaped, but reflect deeper deficits across our NHS. I will.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way. He raises a very important point about the NHS. In my limited experience, but painful experience, one of the things that doesn't happen enough is that even when there's a hospice bed available, the NHS staff do not refer end-of-life patients to the hospice because the palliative team is 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Does he agree with me that we have to get to a point where that palliative support in our NHS is available 24/7 so that those referrals can take place?
Tom Collins.
Yeah, I thank my honourable friend for that point, and she's entirely right. We need far better integration across those services, and I was heartbroken to see that that the palliative care that my mother was receiving seemed to have been outsourced to charities and wasn't being provided by the NHS at all. And that specialist care ought to be something that's native to our NHS. I was recently talking to a couple of GPs in Worcester. Now, speaking with them is a refreshing change. Well, their work is in diagnosing and treating illness and to a good extent preventing it and promoting healthy lives. For them, palliative care is not an exception, it's Monday. With an ageing population, end-of-life care is really an emerging flavour in medical care. Bodies do not last forever, and the balance of benefits of treatment versus the very human costs in pain, inconvenience and indignity start to change. Medics dealing with palliative care understand that our bodies are intermingled, complex systems, and that our bodies are one part of what we are, complex, intermingled, physical, psychological, social and spiritual beings with rich tapestries of relationships, values, perspectives and experiences. See the problem, name the problem, fix the problem, just doesn't cut it as an approach. You treat the whole person, or you risk mistreating them. Sadly, our urgent and acute systems of diagnosis and treatment are simply not designed for this approach. Palliative care is, by and large, out of mind and out of scope. Care is siloed into specialties. Patients become units of flow. Relationships are substituted out for transactions. This is reflected in the stories I hear from constituents in Worcester. Stories from people with multiple complex conditions who are locked in the flip-flop between specialisms, where alternately one gets managed well and the other slips into neglect. Stories of people who feel unheard, unvalued and anonymously shipped to different hospitals in different areas under different trusts. Or stories of people who, when their wellness takes a dip, do everything they can to avoid calling an ambulance and the inevitable prodding, poking and long cold night in A&E corridors that inevitably follows. This has to change. Addressing our gaps in palliative care demands a fundamental shift in the way our NHS thinks and works. There will be a place for the cut-and-shut quick surgical procedure here and there, a course of antibiotics, or a cast, sling and a suggestion not to do it again, but the primary role of healthcare needs to be one that sees the human being and works in relationship for their well-being. In fact, best practice in palliative care is often remarkably similar to treatment for recovery, setting small, achievable goals and working with patients to fulfil them. An NHS informed by this approach would most likely be more effective across the board. With that foundation, the opportunities for a better, more holistic and properly resourced approach to palliative care can start to open up. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to touch on the topic of assisted dying. I've found that a difficult debate to navigate, largely for the reasons I've discussed. The overwhelming message I've heard from medics and professionals is that we need to improve the way we navigate the end of life as things stand today, break the taboo of death, and develop care that meets the practical, physical, psychological, spiritual and social needs of parents and their families, and make this available to all. As we do this, treatments that shorten but enhance life will undoubtedly play a role, but they must sit at the apex of well-developed practice in end-of-life care that we don't yet have. This should be a major and urgent priority for us, not least because a drive towards excellent palliative care can only improve our systems and approaches overall. Dealing better with complex needs, putting patients' perspectives at the centre of system design, and plugging gaps so that patients are no longer able to fall through them. By taking proper ownership of palliative care, we can end experiences like my mum's. And in doing so, we will also make a better NHS.
Mary Glynn.